new squad, and that's why Otter's talking about giving them the time to have these opportunities. So it's going to be a growing kind of season for NME here.
Yeah, and you mentioned actually sort of new mid lane pickups. We talk about the TDK squad right here. On the roster was a player, I'm going to blank, Ninja. Oh, there we go, yeah. He played for them before as well on TDK, but also, and he, to my knowledge, was like intended to start, but Do It is now here instead, and he was another former pro from Korea. He played 2 games on Spenu, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you looked that up. So yeah, he was 0-2 in the LCK, but was at least good enough to be picked up by a pro Korean team, if not dropped afterwards. So we're going to see how well this new roster can do as well. TDK definitely quite well hyped, Korean-speaking team. Bishu, if you know of him, of course, has moved to support to fill in the roster.
Yep, and Bishu, from what I've been hearing, him alongside OQ, they spent 4 months, the entire team, scrimming in Korea, and the results, from what I've been hearing, is that you can't tell that it's Bishu playing a secondary role.
Wow.
People are saying that he's acclimated to the support role really quickly.
All right, well, we'll see if these teams are going to be good to go because, of course, we are in a Champions League. So excuse if we look down, more often than not here in this one. Not used to being on camera during Champions League anymore. It's been so long doing LCS and Worlds where it wasn't about us. But first pick Poppy, I think, not really a big surprise.
Yeah, she's extraordinarily powerful right now. Also a flex pick jungle top and a little bit of support. We haven't been seeing too much of that in NA, though.
Yeah, that's been much more rare from North America. We see it sometimes in Europe. Mundo, Lissandra, I think these get locked in. Great champions overall. Mundo, just a super strong top jungle flex, as you mentioned. Lissandra, a mid-top flex as well, and we'll see what kind of matchups she gets for herself.
Yeah, 2 flexes there. So far 3 flexes on the table, but I think right now you want to solidify your bot lane for enemy. You want to grab something great for Otter, and also I mean throw something in there for Trance too. Kalista, I'd pair that with a Bard most likely right now because I think that that's a great matchup for pretty much anything that you want to pick blind.
Yeah, in laning phase especially, Kalista plus range support, you get so much damage, and meanwhile you're like, okay, well here's a super aggressive bot lane that's really scary, can engage me. I like this Ezreal for OQ. Get him something that's really safe, something that's going to work for him quite nicely. And you're already seeing a team that's like full of all-ins, right? Lissandra can go in. Mundo needs some help getting in there. So like, thinking of like an engaged support. Bard's already gone. Leona's okay. Alistar gives you the chance to like heal to survive like Bard Kalista poke. Again, really brutal duo lane. So I think getting a heal's pretty good. Yeah, I think Alistar works here. And
yeah,
Alistar, I would lock those in.
Alistar is actually a really good pickup too. The thing that really beats Bard is having that hard engage you were talking about. I think that Thresh is really good against Bard. I also think you can make an Alistar work, but of course, on the flip side here for enemy, the last 2 picks, it's going to be probably a mid laner here. And looking at what this is, I don't really want to run a Poppy too much into a Lissandra, which I think it will probably be.
Yeah.
So you probably want to go with a Xerath mid here. Pick that blind for Wolfie because he's just the Xerath god.
That's true, yeah.
And then
blind pick it.
And then Malphite I think would also be great. So you have this hard engage for this team composition that's going to want to try to go forward. And I think that when you have this momentum with the poke mid like a Xerath, having a Malphite will also round that composition out. And Kenny, he loves to be in charge of the go button. He's the shot caller of almost every team he's been on.
Yeah.
He wants to go. He wants to do it. And there you go.
Really vocal player. There's the lock-ins. All right, last pick here for TDK. Well, okay, Xerath mid for sure. Lissandra would have been a flex. I like Lissandra into Malphite in the first place. Yeah. Let's grab an assassin mid lane here. Let's actually beat up the Xerath. Okay, so that means you're on Mundo jungle probably. I mean, it's not the best ganker, so maybe self-sufficient assassin. Ahri fits the damage profile. You've got physical damage from Mundo, physical damage from Ezreal. Honestly, yeah, there's a lot of ways to go in. I think that's a good pickup here for Do It. Any other assassin would do, though. You're looking at things like Fizz could make it work, that we don't see much competitive. Zed's fine. It's not too physical heavy, but yeah. First it's like Ahri, and we'll see what he goes for.
Ahri is really good into it, too, because he's going to make himself low mobility, right? Immobile, you can dodge his E, you can hit him with a charm and just really mess him up. So I think that this is the pick you're really going to want to go for here.
All right, well, they're hovering it right now. We'll see if that ends up being the actual pick. And pretty much everyone always goes blue Ezreal. I'm curious to see if that's actually going to be the case here. It's like 99% of the time it is. I still like Triforce Infinity Edge Ezreal. You actually get a lot of good auto attack DPS, but this team's not exactly lacking damage anyway.
Yeah, people started to jump back onto the build, but it was originally abandoned because tier just took so long to ramp up.
And then people just stopped caring about it.
Yeah, people were like, okay, I guess we'll hit mid-game anyway, and games are supposed to be faster than before, so it's a strange thing. Tier will stack up by like 19 minutes if you're good or lucky, unless you get it early.
Here's my read on why, essentially, is there's all the changes in the preseason. You know, Ezreal's one of the sort of less changed champions where his Q is a 1.5 second reset instead of a 1 second reset, which has made CDR builds better, which, to be fair, Essence Weaver just gives you max CDR off Triforce, but Blue build is like, great, I can just spam Q forever and all is well, and just turned out that people liked that build enough that they just went for it, and so they've looked for high CDR Ezreal builds. And in fact, you'll even see some pro AD carries will like make Ezreal-specific rune pages that add 10 CDR from glyphs to make sure that they will hit 40 CDR, because there's no easy-to-achieve 10 CDR from the rest of the item build. Like, it's like Iceborne cooldown boots and then nothing. And so, like, some people go really hard for it, and they make, like, specific Ezreal pages.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I think that having that 40% CDR and just hitting that cap makes it so that you can constantly pull out the Qs. And I think that not having that is also okay as well, because you don't want to have it too low of a cooldown that you actually are hitting Qs where you don't have your Sheen up.
So that's actually interesting to note. Basically, the cooldown gets down to 1.8 on your Q at 30 CDR. So you can point blank like Q wolves and you'll Iceborne every time. Anything other than that, longer range, and you miss the cooldown regardless. So it almost doesn't matter if you over CDR, because you get screwed regardless. Either way, guys, we've talked about item builds and stuff, but as a team slowed down to the Rift, we want you guys to join in the conversation as well. Tell us who's going to claim victory. Tweet hashtag NME win or hashtag TDK win to @LolEsports. We'll check your votes in just a few minutes, and I think it's really going to be quite a fun game here. Again, 2 ex-LCS teams, very heavily remade, though, around some key players, and we'll see just how strong these teams can really be. You've got some absolute star power here. OQ, I think, is definitely the man to watch, and we'll see just what his team can do around him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are watching Seraph in the top lane and then OQ on the opposite side of the map. TDK, they look like they have the strong lanes in both sides here with their players and the history that they've had.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Kenny can do better. I remember, it's funny. I'm going to talk about something a little bit around the horn. It's going to be relevant here in a second. So one of the actual worst matchups in League of Legends statistically is Malphite into Rumble, because it's like awkward to build magic resist and it's super difficult. And I remember talking to Westrice back when he was on Complexity, and that was an LCS team, and he was like, oh, you just build a Chalice and the MR is enough to survive your matchup. And there's a lot of players who are like very confident they can win literally the worst matchup in the game by just itemizing correctly. And the reason I say this is I feel like Malphite into Lissandra is not that easy. She gets to poke you out a whole lot, gets to break through your shield, gets to constantly auto-attack you, keep your paths from coming up, and Kenny was happy to pretty much pick into what he assumed would be the matchup.
Yeah, I don't think it's that great of a pick into it. It always feels awkward to buy the MR, like you were saying. I know some people are now favoring going straight for a Spectre's Cowl and just sitting on that and then going Sunfire Cape, but then the whole idea is like a Spectre's Cowl feels good, but then building it into Banshees doesn't always feel that great on him, or building it into Spirit Visage doesn't either. So you really just kind of let that item rot in your inventory for a long time.
If I had to guess, the MR item would be Abyssal. It'll set up, like, because you can like land the sound and then just set up for Xerath damage.
That sounds like what Kenny would do.
I mean, Kenny would probably get Sork Shoes as well, to be completely honest. Actually, no, because everyone buys the 500 gold version of boots, but either way, we are getting ourselves into the game as they've all loaded up, and they've chosen to actually get themselves into a lane swap here. Enemy have sent their dual lane to the top side. They got a brief invade, got some wards down, got some gold off of OQ. And that's going to be a Callista and Bard heading up there. We'll see if they actually go for the parts of blue buff. Looks like no. Bard will instead invade, potentially, and look for someone to fight.
It's a late lane swap, though. You don't even have Trance and Otter doing a camp or even going up to the lane and appropriately freezing it.
He's going to go behind Seraph, though.
They're going to try. Seraph's going to back up, though, as soon as he sees the AD.
Maybe they can make him blow a flash. Okay, they made him blow a flash. Ignite is on. They're going for this one anyway.
Ooh.
Okay, well, Seraph is going to have to TP back to lane if he even wants to be in a 1v2.
Now he's going to go double jungle, though. I think that's the right idea, is you go along, try to get some experience. There's no reason for you to back and then TP to this lane again, because they're just going to dive you. So I think that, and also you waste your TP. So go get some experience. You're not going to take any damage in the jungle anyway, so you don't need your HP pool.
Yeah.
But now Bard's going to try to roam. Trance is going to go looking for him.
Well, that's a very smart heads-up play by Seraph, though, to realize right away the actual right choice is you literally just walk it downwards on the map right here. You saw Trance try to scout out the opposition. He saw that red buff is gone. He kind of can guess where Kez and Seraph are, and does not know that they're recalling those. This will be a blind guess that they're actually going to be defending this turret. And the thing is, the rest of enemy are heading up to this top lane to knock this turret down in a 4v3 that they might not even win.
This is more like the Korean lane swap that we were seeing right before Worlds, when everybody adopted the European version, where you leave your AD carry in a lane by themselves and you pull your support up to the top. So this is going to be a 3-on-4 here in the top lane, but they're cut off from the turret.
So can they zone them out from getting golden XP? Because enemy are going to get this whole minion wave, and that top lane turret's going to take plenty of damage. And they have kept TDK from pushing in. So this is big, because if TDK had gotten into the turret, it would have meant 3 lanes of farm and XP. Instead, it's going to be a complete balance here where both teams have lost 1 wave worth of golden XP.
Wow, and now the entire team of TDK just runs the opposite side of the map. OQ is starting to push this wave. He'll have enough built up by the time that they get there that they'll have about maybe it's going to hit before the turret, so he'll maybe have about 10 minions by the time that everybody gets down here.
Yeah, I wonder to see if... now here the question is, because NME have such a giant health lead on the turret, they could choose potentially to recall right away and defend outer, or shove really hard for top lane tier 2, and actually potentially create a +1 turret lead as a result of their actions.
I actually just think that it's going to be enough minions that they'll be able to take this down on TDK side pretty close.
Just safely regardless?
Yeah, that's what I think. But
yeah, with 4, this turret's, I think, gone.
Yeah, I think the wave was managed extraordinarily well from OQ because he was freezing it, he was holding it, and then when they realized that the lane swap wasn't going their way, he broke the freeze slowly. It's not that super fast, desperate push, which happens so often that you just mess up the wave, and now they have to stop. But the thing is, if the enemy of enemy, I was gonna say the enemy of enemy,
sure.
If enemy shows up in time, then he has to take the turret, and he's not able to properly bounce the wave. But we're gonna see here.
No, it'll bounce just fine.
Yep, there you go.
I really think there was a chance for enemy to push for tier 2. I think when you're ahead, like the turret's dead right as they're pushing down, I think you actually have the time to push all the way in. This actually could prove to be the wrong assumption, but I want to know if a team can learn to punish that.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to punish Seraph here, though. He TP'd into top lane. He has no flash, and you see Obvious is coming straight up to this gank. There's no wards for Seraph either.
I mean, this gank just, it lives up to the name of the jungler right here. A flashless top lane without a turret. This is the spot you want to go. Seraph has to save his E cooldown. And you can see he plays pretty far back. He's going to trinket from over the wall. Oh, pink ward from over the wall.
That's just really good sense.
And Obvious actually was never spotted. Here gets stun Seraph. Oh, missed the stun. Seraph turned left just at the right time to not get wrecked.
Oh, man, but there's this gigantic wave pushing towards Kenny. Kenny wants to freeze this, but Seraph wants to push up far enough that he can shove this in, and it's pretty easy to do as Lissandra with a blue buff. So break the freeze. He's also calling up Kez to the top lane to make sure that he's around just in case.
He even had a trinket ward that would spot Obvious if he wanted to come and leave that brush and show up. So yeah, all is well. And now instead of Kez being a counter gank, he can actually just straight up gank Ikenny, who's only level 4 in the Malphite. He's likely safe, but he pushes up too far on Seraph. This could really be quite easily punished by a couple of chain slows.
You'll get a decent amount of damage if you get the root off and the cleaver.
There's the root, there's the first slow, there's the jump forward, and Seraph's going to land at least one more slow here. Kenny might have to burn flash, and he will without dodging any of the skill shots in the first place, so took 600 damage and still lost flash. I guess a bit greedy right here. Now Kez will get spotted by the ward. I don't believe he saw that Obvious put one down. And Kez should get tracked on this invade.
He's tracked on the invade. He's going all the way through, so he has to watch out for Trance on the opposite side coming through.
Wow. 2 Tracker's Knife wards, the Trinket ward, and the pink ward down there. They have complete vision of what's around here, but Obvious was already there. He flashed the wall, still gets stunned, but it's not going to be much more. The stun misses from Wolfie, but now Obvious is here. Can he get the kill onto Kez? It's going to be close, and there's the snipe. First blood to Wolfie for enemy.
And Wolfie, the guy who just basically played Xerath every game he can, comes up with first blood here. And that's a lot of gold for him. I know that he likes to back. He likes to get a Dark Seal for himself as one of his first items because he just wants to min-max his AP and make sure that he can do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing the logic. Ooh,
oh my God.
OQ because of the deep wards by Kez. He warded for Ezra to get some farm. That is awesome. That's so good.
Oh my God. As a jungler, if that happened to me, I would be so mad.
He's only level 4. Like, Obvious honestly couldn't.
He timed that from across the map.
That's pretty sick. Let's be real. That's pretty sick. Grats to both Kez and OQ. That was teamwork right there, but that was great. All right, so as a result of exactly that Gromp steal, it's only a 400 gold difference. It actually literally would be 550 if not for that. So you made up like half the first blood gold deficit. We'll see if the team can keep growing up from here, but Obvious will be able to grab the red buff on this time around in the jungle clear. We're mostly tracking the enemy jungler, the blue team jungler for now, as Kez had to respawn, get back across the map. Thankfully, he got to, walk back sooner. So as soon as he saw him start the camp, he's like, yeah, it's time.
Oh, it doesn't even go through anything, so it has full damage.
And Obvious just, I don't think he, oh, he did burn smite. He already had the Gromp buff. He smited at the start of the camp. That's what happened. But Wolfie getting some pretty good damage on her to do it. This Ahri is still winning in CS, though, and doing the normal thing of rushing Abyssal Scepter to make the assassinations easier.
Oh my God.
And you see the amount of damage that Wolfie's able to do is making it pretty hard for Do-It to really knock him down.
Wolfie's actually having a great time in this lane. He's like 7 CS back, but he got first blood, and that's okay as a Xerath, though. He has the cleanse to make sure that
Here's the attempt. Oh! Ooh. He just whiffs Charm. Do it. I think expected Wolfie to juke. Wolfie actually expected to get hit, so he hit cleanse anyway.
Anticipation. Everybody's just predicting each other. They're too good. You know what? They think the other guy is better than they are.
No,
that's what that was.
They both played as though their opponent didn't. Yeah, you explained it properly enough. They outplayed themselves, essentially is what happened, but it was all for good reason.
It's like when you go smurfing in Bronze and you realize, oh yeah.
No one dodges skill shots anymore. Yeah.
So like you're playing Thresh, and then you go play a Diamond game, and you're like, oh wait. Now they dodge.
It's weird, right?
And now you look like the dummy.
Yep. Well, we have matched our lanes back up, of course. I haven't watched the duo lanes very much, and really in a while, as Trance was top lane not long ago, killing off Kez. It's a small CS lead right now for OQ, and Otter, the returning member of NME. He needs to keep up in this matchup. Kallista's generally one of the stronger laners here, and letting Ezreal just scale up off tier is never great.
And I like the order that OQ went in for his items. He ended up getting the Glacial Shroud second, so that he's actually able to kind of absorb the damage and allow his tier to stack up, as opposed to going for the Sheen early and trying to get all this damage off. So it's the defensive.
Yeah, it is. They both give mana intense CDR, so like you're gonna stack tier just as fast. But you're right, he chose to get armor in the build path, and yeah, it'll help him live a little bit longer. So OQ is still gonna play the safe farm game and not do too much else.
Yeah, I would have gone Sheen. So that's why
I didn't even think of it either, right? But honestly, if you're not gonna brawl, it makes sense. And look, Bishu is already roaming across the map, doing what he can to get wards down. Well, right now just his trinket, but he'll be getting sight stun in a second. And he can help Kez keep vision control up.
And the Spooky Ghost for Wolfie. I know he loves this item since you were able to build it on mid laners, because it helps him land all of his abilities as Ziren. So he just pops it, and then he'll even ulti. So if Wolfie actually starts getting an advantage in this lane, look for him to just pop Ghost every time it's up, ulti, and try to chunk the person out. Because he'll just do that just for the damage and try to get lane advantage over you.
And it's likely to succeed, honestly. It's pretty hard to deal with a lot of these Frost Queens champions. I actually ran into a Frost Queens Vel'Koz not long ago, today in solo queue, and just he's going to land that stun. He's going to full combo you, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. So Duet will have to play around that. Thankfully, he has his own ultimate to dodge skill shots with, but still something to track.
And the change to Frost Queen's claim, where it slows longer the faster it traveled, and it goes up to 5 seconds, he could hit it from very far away and still get basically the same slow he would have gotten previously with 4 seconds. And then throw his ultimate off.
Yep. We'll see if they can find that here. OQ and Bishu ready to go back into this bottom lane here. CS still holding pretty equal, and basically all of these lanes, the only big difference is that Kez is out farming Obvious, and as you can see, the gold lead is dwindling down to 300. Just very, very slowly the laning phase is slightly giving farm to TDK. That first blood meaning less and less as time goes on.
Kez has always kind of been a farming jungler. You're talking about how he's up in farm, but that's
it's
always been his style. He's kind of
farm with wards, specifically.
And he's pretty much responsible for the 80 Minutes the Dream game back on Complexity.
Yep.
Because they brought him on, and then when I talked to Prawley about what Kez brought to the team, he's saying, well, he's got very reserved calls. Prawley was the guy on Ziggs who wanted to satchel charge in and like face check stuff, and Kez would always be like, there's no reason to do that. Just stop. And he would. The entire game is just Kez saying, we don't need to fight here. Over and over and over again. And then eventually they were able to fight with the Fed Tristana. So Kez, he's the mastermind behind stall tactics.
Yep. He is the new NA Froggen. Now that Froggen is an NA, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. But
now he's just regular Frog.
Now Kez is literally Froggen.
Speaking of Kez.
Speaking of Kez, jumping in right now onto Trance. I almost said speaking of Froggen, you caught me off with that one. But yeah, they're going to push in right for Kez. The knock is going to come through. I believe Wolfie's Spirits did not hit anything, but still a damage. They're focusing the Mundo. They kill him off, and out goes the Lissandra, pumped it away. And a Bard ulti stuns up a couple. Here comes the Zerath. It's going to kill off Bishu. This is a fight in favor of enemy. Already 2-1 in this one. Charm will not land. Trance gets away through the magical journey. Kenny's still alive. Does have the ulti. They could bait in TDK, but no fight to be had. 2-1.
Poppy Ultimate getting Seraph out of the fight was actually very big.
Huge deal.
Seraph wasn't able to actually deliver any damage after that point. He was just past the wall. It took a long time for Duet and Wolfie to actually get into this fight, though. I think that they kind of clashed, and then they both had to go around. Wolfie came from a different angle as well. So, fight was rather explosive, but it comes out in favor of enemy with another kill going over to Wolfie. So he's actually feeling really good on this Zerath.
Yeah, 2-0 on Zerath, definitely a big deal. You can see he's now in the advantage in this lane. Duet is forced back repeatedly, the Q poke, and they're going to try for the gank right here, though. Wolfie trying to get out of range of Seraph, landed the stun, but the Charm's going to come through, cleanses it away. and all is well. But really smart by him to aim the stun at Seraph's claw so that he was not getting caught out too quickly. But now here comes
Trance.
Bishu, lands the combo. Trance is in a bad spot right now. They may get a trade kill. Ignite is on. They've already gotten the kill onto one, and looks like Trance will survive. And a stun from Wolfie keeps Duet from doing anything else.
Oh, Wolfie, he just needed more mana. There you go. But it wasn't even a trade kill. It was just 1 for 0, and that's another kill going over to enemy, and another kill to Wolfie.
Now Kenny's got to be careful, though, because there are going to be a couple of slow-Z flashes. There's the cleaver. It's going to land, and he has to ulti to get out, but Kenny does survive after all. 4-1 overall kill, though, for enemy, and honestly, I wouldn't expect a lot of people to expect this to be the scoreline.
Yeah, especially since TDK, this roster has been together for 4 months. I'm not sure how much they've actually played with Do It in the mid lane, though, as opposed to Ninja. But on enemy's side, they've only been together for a week. Wolfie is the newest guy to the roster, and he's been fed all these kills, so I'm interested to see what he does with them. And I love that he's been taking cleanse in this matchup. And I think that Wolfie's performance, even on Frostbite, he was the best performing member on his team in that series. And he saves Trance here, and they just auto Seraph down.
That was the most, like, miracle unintentional bait ever. Trance did not know that Alistar was right in that rush. He walked into a 1v3.
He walked so far forward.
He was so fortunate that he somehow managed to live anyway. He landed the point-blank stun onto Seraph, which saved his life, and all went well, but it feels like a combination of very fortunate events right now for enemy. But they are doing well and growing their lead now with the first dragon. Now the turrets are tied, which brings the gold back to 1,400.
If there's anything if there's anything I've learned about League of Legends, it's that if you're getting lucky in the early game, skill will eventually overtake you in the mid game.
And we'll see if enemy can have that skill, because Trance right now is just getting sucked up by Otter, but then gets stunning away by Seraph. Here comes the combo in. Seraph just dropped down right away. Do It just cannot get the damage he needs to keep this team afloat. 0-0-0 for him. Ulti not going to get any kills. OQ wanted to pick something up there, but the guy with the only kill, OQ here on TDK, his team's just dying in front of him.
Yeah, really slow to collapse here on TDK's side, and OQ, not a lot of participation. He hasn't been able to make it to these fights in time. He hasn't been able to roam and actually do enough damage to Wolfie. And Wolfie just has all the kills, though, so this is becoming a harder and harder lane to stay in for Do It.
Especially when the minions just die like that. TDK looking for the attempt to push, though. They do have Iceborne Gauntlet, plus cooldown boots already done on OQ. This is, I guess, sort of the first of the blue Ezreal power spikes. Is you've got 30 CDR. Let's go toss some skill shots out. It lines up conveniently with him having rank 5 Mystic Shot as well. So really good poke tools. Hit some damage on the Wolfie. And we'll see just what they can do here. Spooky Ghosts come out. They land the slow. Trance is not in range to land much of anything, but a charm's going to land onto Malphite. A flash stun. Obvious one sit, but the team is not even there, so miscoordination already. But look at that.
No.
Oh! Slightly missed time by Kenny. Went in too early, and then OQ was able to flash out. That nearly could have been something great.
Ooh. Man, I've seen so many people, when I'm not communicating about my Poppy ultimate, use abilities while they're invulnerable. And right there, Kenny, just a little bit too early. Just
slightly off.
Oh, so close. But that still gives them some pressure. It means that OQ, he's going to be able to do some damage here, but backing up. They're waiting for Wolfie. Wolfie's out of mana. He has to back and try to run all the way back to this mid lane. So TDK, they're going to try to get vision. They're going to try to steal a blue buff. And try to get control of the mid lane while their wave clear is gone on enemy side.
And they do have a little bit of control right now. Top lane's pushed up all the way. They've got one pink ward inside the jungle, which controls the blue buff area. So there's little bits of power here, and this is like the strong side, the stronger side of the map actually for TDK. If you look on the right, there's actually plenty of wards up right now the enemy has on that right side jungle. So TDK playing on the correct side. They get Rift Herald. They can recall Obvious back, and Obvious or OQ. I didn't see which one actually got it, but.
Okay.
Sorry, Obvious on the wrong team, so OQ, clearly. Sorry.
They just have O
my names. Yeah, exactly.
It happens. Maybe it was Otter. Who knows?
Could have been Otter.
Once again, going for the 6-second change.
Slightly early.
Oh, yeah. It was literally a fraction of a second. That was like a fraction of a second.
Yeah, I know. The model had visibly, at least in the replay,
his feet were on the ground.
Yeah. Well, such as it is, Ezra was totally fine. I trust the invulnerability was exactly the duration it was expected, but I don't know, man. What happened, and OQ was totally fine. As you can tell, you know, when Poppy hits you with a hammer, giant rocks no longer affect you. Just, it's like getting beat up by a bully. Other bullies don't want to beat you up anymore.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, they don't want like someone else's hand-me-downs.
Nobody told my bullies.
Yeah.
Damn.
I thankfully did not have bullies in school, despite not being very popular. So that was nice.
I don't know if I actually had bullies.
Yeah.
Physical conflict wasn't really a thing. Zero tolerance policies were pretty popular
It's good.
in my schools.
Those are things to definitely not promote. Childhood violence, not exactly ideal. We're going to go back into this game, though, where the characters are all adults, so violence is much more okay.
Yeah.
And TDK trying to defend their mid lane outer turret as enemy have also stationed themselves around this part of the map. OQ is still wearing the Rift Herald buff for a little bit longer, but with those minions just honestly quite easy to kill because it's not Baron buff, Wolfie gets to wave clear and nearly one-shots the casters, and he can send out Spooky Ghosts, and then they can poke out TDK.
I think Seraph is looking for some type of flank play, looking for some type of opportunity. He likes to hang off on the side and not actually participate in a lot of the wave clearing duties.
Yeah, though he's a good wave clear, they still have Ari and Ezra for that purpose, so you're right, it's not that dangerous. And of course, Bishu can just posture and say, if you hit this turret, I will flash pulverize you and headbutt you into the turret. So it prevents, honestly, a lot of the potential engage tools of enemy. Just being a tank sometimes is enough to be a sort of a wave clear tool. It's a siege prevention tool.
Yeah, you're a threat. The threat of a pulverize, the threat of a headbutt. It's a lot of what Alistars bring to the table, especially when you're standing between like a tier 1, tier 2 turret in a lane swap. Just the fact that he's threatening it. And then it's funny because as soon as you use one of those abilities, pulverize or headbutt, they are no longer afraid of you at all.
And everyone else runs in and fights you to try to protect the team that you just comboed on. But yep, Bishu has not really wasted any combos so far. His engages have been on point, just unfortunate battles at the end of it when we've seen some of these fights turn around.
And Seraph, despite having some great performances in his last 3 games, in fact, in his last 3 games in the LCS, he's 17-3 and 25 is his scoreline.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, he won his last 2 games in the last split on TDK, and then the one he played on Team Impulse on top of that. So,
Ooh,
crazy scoreline.
Well, it looks like headway is starting to be made for enemy esports here, actually. Sorry, actually just enemy. The esports been dropped from the name. So I gotta unlearn that, by the way, getting names backwards.
I wrote it on the paper, too.
Yeah, no, I know. I took note of it before the cast started, and I still got it wrong once. Habits just die hard sometimes here.
I gotta say enemy instead of NME.
Oh, I never did that. I was never that dumb.
It's the tri-code. I'm just saying the tri-code.
I totally get it. I understand why that's difficult.
It's just
OQ getting ghosted, though, and gonna get poked. Okay, has to arcane shift out.
It's just like NRG in the LCS.
I don't get that wrong either. I don't get that one wrong either.
It's energy.
Yes.
They want you to say energy, never NRG. And NRG doesn't even stand for energy. It stands for NRG. But you don't say it that way.
Pronounce that.
Ah!
It's the weirdest catch-22.
Turret's going down.
Yeah, taking still plenty of damage. Enemy have just been
Seraph.
sitting, and here comes Seraph. He gets the stun onto Otter, who does not have a way out, and the pulverize and the shockwave and everything coming across, but they've already picked off Seraph, a 1-for-0. They traded back on Otter, though, so 4v4 in this fight, and now Dewitt's got to be a bit careful. Lands a charm, trying to get the damage to Kenny, ignites him, who flashed away. The Malphite should survive his encounter with this bite, but TDK have healthy tanks and an Alistar that can heal people, but instead of sieging against Wolfie, they're going to go for the Dragon.
The fact that they got Kez out of that fight and then he had to run back in full HP was a big part of it. So enemy, they took minimal losses there because Kez, full HP, Mundo, no slows, no follow-ups, and that was thanks to the Poppy.
Very good job. Then Obvious has had 2 very, very good ultis. And the Smite goes as well. Obvious cannot do wrong in this game. Honestly, 2-0 and 3. Said he wanted to prove that he's a good pickup. He is.
Yeah, he's already made it into the LCS in EU.
Yeah, he qualified with Dignitas EU, and then they swapped junglers, him and Trashy.
It was pretty much just, you want our guy? Yeah, we want your guy. Yeah. It's like, oh, we'll take your guy then.
Let's swap Danes.
Like they literally like pulled out their roster like Pokemon cards. It's like, oh, you have a Trashy? Oh my god! This
one's shiny.
I'll trade you an Obvious. And then Seraph comes in. He has no defensive tool on himself. And he just gets blown up right away. But then this right here, Kez is out of the fight, and he wants to walk up, because if he walks up where Dewitt was golden, he zones out Trance and he zones out Wolfie from actually following up, and then Dewitt has a better ability or a safer zone to actually use his ultimate forward as opposed to backward. So that was really big that Kez got knocked out.
So 2 for 2 on great teamfight ultis from Obvious, and then a I guess it's a bad one, but that was more Kenny's fault, where he didn't get the kill onto Ezreal earlier. That's all right. All
it was
said
a good
and
ulti.
I think it was a good ulti. I think it worked out. Either way, we're going to see enemy esports enemy sitting
Gotta get a jar with, put $1 in it every time.
The esports jar, essentially here. 2,000 gold though. This game is honestly stagnating. And again, there were some pretty fortunate early game plays for enemy. You know, some overaggression by Kaz. I mean, things that were certainly punished by being misplays. But this is where the team play aspect really comes in here. And you mentioned a minute ago, you know, an early game can be lucky or it can be good, whatever. But in the mid game, it comes down to the better team. And this is really the test. That this is a lead that doesn't sort of guarantee a win for either side. So watching how well they can play the next few minutes is a very big deal here.
Exactly, and it actually, I believe at one point was a 4,000 gold lead, and now it's closed to a 2,000 gold lead here. Still 2 dragons over to enemy. And they have a turret that's about to go down as well on this mid lane here. Seraph, no flash, no TP. It's hard for him to get some type of flank without it being super obvious.
The only obvious flanks come from enemy's jungler. Duh. No, but...
And the only person who's going to do it is the mid laner of TDK.
Oh, we're hilarious!
Yeah, I don't know why they put him in as well. I was expecting Ninja,
yeah,
but I guess the coach just Shia LaBeouf'd it and then threw him in there.
Just do it.
Who are we running today? Do it! Just
do it! I'm glad that you're so obnoxious now that I'm not the only person making lame jokes. Production's already told us how much, not to stop, but just has expressed exasperation at how quickly we picked up the pieces from the last challenge.
Our production actually has a almost like a language now, where if they give you a then it's a you can do about 5 more.
I think it's like 5 more. It's like an obscenely large number of further lame jokes.
And if they go, stop it.
Yeah, stop it means you get like 2.
Yeah.
At least. And now he said you're done. So OQ, oh! Health almost goes to O as well, but he's going to be just fine walking away. Gets summon or heal used, and Bijou pressed E, but the siege potential you're seeing working quite well now for enemy. Double item plus QSS for Otter. Now he is safe to not get completely wrecked by Seraph, because you can QSS and run away. That's a huge deal. And Wolfie on Riley's and Sork shoes. It's going to really mess with people.
You have to worry a little bit here. Seraph just backed. His TP is up. He has home guards now. Is he going to sit in the base and wait for a TP play?
No.
Oh, all right. That seems
He's
like
about to walk top, then he's going back to mid, then he's going back to top. He's gauging which sides of the map need the wave and which sides he can start to go and farm. You're realizing that because of how long this game has been a siege, the top laners are not getting gold. Like 80 carries, 200 something, get 26 minutes, reasonable. 180 to 200, a little bit low for mid laners. And then the top laner's like, yeah, we got nothing. And it wasn't just from the lane swap. That broke pretty early. So it's really just the fact that they've had to sit there in a brush and be like, all right, if they go and press R, you ready? You ready? And then nothing happens. Or things happen and they get a kill.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He just like dodged 3 cleavers, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of happy feet there. I love that Bard's. Bard's already annoying, and I don't know why, but that one is even more annoying to me. I think it's just the sound effects. Like, you jump inside the magical journey, it's like...
You get like the nice
it's like, see ya! I'm a penguin!
So I think my favorite story about Snow Day Bard, because Bard is not always super popular, and because it was a Snowdown skin, so it was kind of new. There was a Reddit post, which is, guys, there's these new mysterious things on Summoner's Rift. Are they teasing the new champion? And it was Snow Day Bard chimes. And he'd just never seen him before. And they hit like front page. And eventually someone was like, bro, it's the Bard skin. Those are his chimes. And everyone's like, oh, okay, nothing to see here. And then like, out they went, like all the comments. But
and everybody was like, oh my god, there's a penguin.
It might be.
There's a penguin model in the 3D viewer. Like, what is this? It's like, oh, I think it's his meeps following him around. I think he just has penguins.
Yeah, dude.
And
penguins.
People were both excited and disappointed.
What? How could you be disappointed about penguins?
Well, because they wanted it to be like a pet that follows you around. Also, see the cocoa?
Yeah.
That's when you can tell it's fully stacked, is when it gets a little candy cane straw.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess a little straw and a marshmallow.
Yep. Well, anyone on enemy gets low, they're going to be in love with the cocoa because they're really going to... They're going to want that health. It is not baking soda. It is cocoa.
That was probably your best one in 2016.
What?
I think so.
Oh, please.
Okay, which one's better?
Practically all of them.
Really? I rated that one pretty highly.
Well, you have an awkward taste in bad jokes.
Maybe I haven't heard all of them.
That wasn't bad enough to be a bad joke.
No, it wasn't a bad joke. I actually liked that one. You're weird.
Banner of Command now picked up. Enemy really just like, guys, we're playing a siege comp and we're going mid.
Yeah, and they have Xerath with all of these slows, so they have a way to disengage. They have Bard for engage and disengage, and it looks like it's going to be third Dragon here for enemy.
All right, Ren's it at 50 health. Good job, Otter. He secured that one cleanly. Do it, though. Going to be beset a little bit. A couple of ults coming and dropping Seraph to half HP. Now Kez alone in the front line. He is isolated. A couple of very good stuns, and that's going to actually make Kez flash away. Obviously, they wanted to flash to land maybe a point blank ulti as well, but that was not to be. But it does create some opportunities where Seraph is low, might have to recall, and in fact, he will do so.
Oh, oh my god!
Another miscoordination between Bard and the Malphite, but this time it's going to be just fine. There's no TP, no ult. This will be a dead Dr. Mundo. Gonna have to turn in his degree.
And poor Bishu, he couldn't actually headbutt to get in because Poppy had the W up, so he would have just been stopped anyway. He would have had to flash pulverize, and he would have had to guarantee that Kez gets out, or he wouldn't do it at all. So he walked up, was like, probably no.
Nothing much to do. So I must recant Kenny. It did in fact go Spirit Message first item, so he decided to play the full tank role here. Swifty Boots as well, so doing his part and not trying to carry too hard. And honestly, enemy have a 4-0 Xerath, so that's probably the right thing to do, of course. Now do it, maybe getting attacked as well. Nice little Ren. Does dodge away from the Xerath, even despite the slow. And that's going to be a stun. This could be a bit risky for Seraph, but good wave clear by Do It, and not a lot of time the enemy gets to spend on this turret.
No hard engage, though, available at the moment. They don't have the Bard ulti or the Malphite ulti. They still have Otter to throw in Trance, but it's not too much. So they're just in a siege situation where they're clearing waves right now. They don't have too much threat. But it is hard to clear that caster minion that's been buffed up. Gonna get some decent damage here, too. Here comes Seraph with a TP from the side, though.
They're going to look for the play. They go for the headbutt pulverize. They catch up Otter, who flashes and QSS to get away. But now the team is back in, and Otter is getting assaulted by the entire team. Pulls in his Bard, throws it back in for the knockup. No one has died just yet, but there are very low health bars, and there's the first kill. Trance is gone, and this could be an easy chase down for TDK if they can get back into range. Health bar, huge lead for red team.
It's so hard to follow it. Wait, where's the ulti going? Ooh. Not quite. Not quite there with the damage just yet. But
you know who he hit? Just Do It. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. I'm done. But that fight, Seraph once again had a great TP. Had to actually use his abilities to get in from the side, and then the ultimate. But not a lot of follow-up here. From when he actually goes in, Do It got knocked back by the Poppy ultimate, so you don't have Ahri's Q coming across this gigantic cluster of enemy. So once again, I think this Poppy ultimate minimized damage and minimized the losses here. Because Do It, he shows up at the end, and then they're able to actually pick up the only kill of the fight.
Yeah, Otter likely would have died in that case if Ahri were around, but it also means that many flashes were burned to keep the team alive. You can see anyone with 1/4 of their flash timer gone is someone who flashed in that fight. Kenny, Wolfie, Otter, and Trance all flashed to get away. TDK burned maybe 1 or 2. The rest of the team,
and Bishu.
Yeah, it was Seraph and Bishu who burned there. So the rest of the team now can flash engage. In the next round, easy for TDK.
Yeah, and with the distortion boots, you can see Seraph is already rather close to being back up. Same with Bishu. So they'll have a little bit of an advantage in terms of making that play. But Kenny has the TP. Kenny's been splitting. They're doing a 1-3-1 here on the side of enemy. So they're trying to get these waves to these turrets and threaten and possibly go between mid and top with the siege comp. And with Bard, it makes you quite fast at doing that.
In they go. Kenny getting some damage into Seraph. He's so tanky, he really can't die. Of course, there's no percent pen from Seraph going for the flat build, which you do because you hit the back line. Means he really doesn't hurt Malphite much at all. Attempted siege from enemy, it just does not really do enough here. They get some chips off this turret, but the gold lead just stays at 2K, and very little gets done.
And then they have minions going into the mid lane too, so they're having pressure in multiple lanes at the same time. So it's ending up being a problem. And if you can also keep tabs on Seraph and stop him from going in, because he seems to be the one person who really wants to go in, it's not so much a Bishu headbutt pull. He's probably the only one who could really reach Wolfie as well with a good TP flank. So they have to wait around that.
All right, so Otter right now has Last Whisper going into, I would actually in this case go Mortal Reminder. I think for Hurricane builders, I like Mortal Reminder a lot more when there's a Moon on the team because you're more guaranteed to land the debuff at any point in time. Because essentially it just deals true damage based on cutting his healing down. and ends up being a really good item to have. It's a really minor point, but I like it a lot. This is a really nice siege by enemy. They push the team away. They knock down top lane tier 2. They nearly locked in Bishu as well. TDK could do nothing but watch and push mid down, but it's an inferior turret kill.
Yeah, it's a good trade, though, because it is still just a 2,000 gold difference between these teams. And enemy looks like they have 5 dragons in their sight and possibly Baron. They're not getting too much of an advantage out of sieging. So that means that TDK has an opportunity to look for team fights around Dragon, around Baron. So they're going to get a fight instead of just a siege down a mid lane.
Those fights are going to be something to watch for. TDK have not found the most climactic ones. They've gotten into battle a few times. They've found some engages, just they're never able to get the kills, largely due to obvious knockbacks, but one good setup and it goes all awry.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So the last Whisper pickup for Otter, how effective is it actually here? Because we only had one armor item, it's Kez's, plus then the Iceborne Gauntlet for OQ, and now you finally see Seraph buying one.
Yeah, if you were to pick an individual component item, I think Giant Slayer would have been better than Last Whisper as like an individual like damage dealing item, because almost everyone's gonna have more health than you. Not everyone's gonna have bonus armor. And again, I actually kind of like Mortal Reminder. Oh my god, Trance like so close to that. Has to get ulted out. Ignite is still on there. He's got to be careful. They already one-shot do it though. Great setup by ICanEU, and now Kez does get stunned on the wall. As ult comes by, knocks down the bards. It's a 2-for-1 though overall. Enemy get ahead. A great pickup there.
The enemies still have poke with OQ, and Kenny, no ultimate. Seraph still has his. If he can get onto Wolfie or if he can get in the back line.
He's going to go in. Bishu wants to set up. Here comes Seraph. He's going to lock down Kenny, who has to flash away. Obvious gets a stun on the wall. Blue team picks up Dragon number 4 here. And Otter gets head up, still gets the kill, though. A killing spree now for the AD carry. And Bishu's got nowhere to go. He's got no ultimate left. Rendell kill him. A double kill. Otter is ripping through people.
OQ has to run away. This minion was going to push up. He doesn't really have too much to clear right now. He has to be careful. There we go. Gets out of there. Otter coming up big. Having the Mercurial Scimitar already to get out of the ultimate from Seraph means that ultimate is practically wasted. They get Trance very low, but then do it against the wall, and then they use only the knock-up onto him.
Wow. Obvious is doing so much work in this game. I thought it was the Malphite ulti. It was actually the Poppy spending a Malphite ulti. That was beautiful. Just obliterated the mid laner. And then this 3v4 just seems really ill-fated. And we can't watch it because it's already a Baron being started. 4,000 health. Enemy should not miss this. It's going to be a Ren to 800. Good job. Good coordination there. Really no chance for a steal. And the enemy 5,000 up and recalling with the Baron buff.
Yeah, an enemy, this team that's only been together for a week, up 5,000 gold, 4 dragons. So they have 5th dragon win condition, they can siege, and they also are able to just shove in turrets and get even more gold, and then they'll have inhibitors too. So this is just a great position for enemy to be in. And they've been playing this very, very well. Very collected. When you have a Xerath, it's very easy to pair it with a Malphite and say, okay, we're going forward, and sometimes the Xerath gets left out. So they're doing the right amount of poking, and then Kenny is sometimes pick/counter engage.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting how they're playing this comp.
Yeah, just there's enough aggression that you can catch people out, and you've seen that happen a couple of times here.
Yeah, but it's not enough to like leave the Xerath out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Xerath still 0 deaths. Otter, again, has the Mercurial Scimitar and a Hex Drinker as well to really make sure he doesn't die. And you seeing, his item build stopped at Last Whisper. Honestly, it's just a little bit inefficient at this point. I think he would have been better off just pushing towards his other items sooner and like having the Hex Drinker sooner, etc. Really minor gripe. Honestly, his team's playing well, and really, this is just you know, a siege-based team that's managed to prevent themselves from getting deleted by flanks. And TDK have not been able to separate the team. They've not been able to have Kez or Sarah split push and break the siege up.
And speaking of split push, Kenny, he's just going to continue to push this wave at the bottom. They're going to lose both tier 2s.
That's honestly really, really strong. Normally a team has to give up tier 2s against Baron buff in a general sense, but you normally make the enemy team work for it. You make him use like 3 waves or something, but they're not even defending the solo Malphite who's just slowly pushing this thing down.
Oh my God!
They never even tried to save him. Do it now, stunned under the turret with the Bard ult. A knock-up as well. He just stays out of the fight. Another kill comes through as Kez has been dropped down, and there comes the engage. Kenny wants in. Ari's going to get dropped if he can hit one more shot. Not quite just yet, but doesn't matter because they've got the inhibitor turret already. A 2 for 0. There's a team forced to back out, and this will at least be the inhib.
An inhibitor going down. They have a minion wave on the bot side, too. They can take 2 inhibs here. And this game, game 1 of Challenger for TDK, Seraph might have to start reevaluating the goal of not dropping a single game.
Yeah, it's not going to happen so far. Right now, TDK, on some of their last legs as enemy, takes the safe approach. They knock down that last inhibitor in the bot lane, and they walk away well before the other guys respawn. There's an important thing to note. I know we've been through like a couple of weeks now of the professional season, but because you get home guards for free at 20 minutes, if you haven't left the base when they respawn, they will reach you.
One. Waits.
Yeah, that's just a severe misplay. And this triggers Thunderlords, I believe, as well, because he didn't hit anyone else, so that was like his third hit. The third hit, I think, did bonus damage because of Thunderlords.
It might have, but I think maybe the second one did because you already hit him with a Q.
Oh, maybe he did.
Because it's a 5-second window right now.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out, though, OQ honestly misplayed that. You can absolutely dodge Xerath R on reaction with Ezreal E. He had no reason to blow Arcane Shift early. That's just an honestly severe misplay by OQ. He knows better than this. And burning it early, I mean, good by Wolfie to wait for that and expect that sort of preempted one. But you can dodge this even like on ladder ping. But these guys I think are in SoCal. So they've got like 12 ping on this tournament round. Like that, you can do that on reaction 100%.
OQ though, highest score on his team right now. Seraph with the 0-4-4 and the 1-5-2 for Kez. OQ, it's coming up rough for him right now. The 2-1-2, and he hasn't been able to do too much. And I got to comment on this. I love the fact that that Banner of Command came out very early from Trance. You see that in a lot of situations where you figure out, oh, we're having a hard time sieging, let's build it. Yeah. He built it like second item. He built it so early on. Look at, he doesn't even have his Frost Queen's claim. He's just like, I'm going to go straight for this item because they have double AP, and then they have an Ezreal who sucks at clearing these types.
I mean, look at everyone's build, right? Kenny, first, oh, hold on, there's an engage. Okay, a quick save back onto the Bard. Will they go back in, and who are they going to look for?
Could be the game.
Knock up on to do it, but he misses the stun. Either way, he popped QSS, and out they go, a 2-man knockback. Kez holds the front line, but it's a 3 versus 5. They gotta wait until the team can re-engage. Kenny now getting locked up here. He's gonna flash to stay safe. Bard ulti hits Seraph. And they've already knocked down top lane inhibitor turret. There's minions inside the base as well, so TDK has to back up to defend the Nexus, which means it'll be at least 3 inhibs here for NME and maybe more of the base. Dragon 5-7, 15 seconds. They don't care though. They're on to the base right now to win this game.
And this is such a squishy turret here. They have that extra damage versus turrets. Taking it very quickly. They have to go now on TDK's side if they want to fight.
They're going to try. Kez stunned into the wall. Is going to stay alive for a bit. A 3-man knockup by Bishu, but they can't quite get the kills. Trance is still alive. Burns Mikhail's Crucible on himself. A stun comes through, and Obvious has died. It's a 1-for-0, but then traded back. Seraph's going to be next, a 2-for-1 now in favor of enemy. Last turret down. Auto Nexus. They will win the game, and the very first game of the 2016 North American Challenger Series goes to enemy.
An enemy coming down from the LCS, lost 3-0, but now they're looking to get back in. Otter, the only returning member, he had a really good game there. They tried to put focus on him, but you were talking about it before. These look like some upgrades for a lot of those slots on this team. Yeah, the players honestly played really well, and the point I was going to get to as we were closing out the game before the push is everyone identified how magic damage heavy the engage is of TDK. Ezreal is actually more like a 60-40 physical magic champion. Not that the Qs don't do damage, not that you can't auto-attack, but when you have Ahri Lissandra diving the backline, Ezreal's contribution is magic damage. It's the True Shot barrage. You had Mercurial Scimitar and Maw of Amortius on Otter. You had Wolfie. To be fair, actually, he bought no MR and didn't die, so well, he died once, but yeah. Okay, we're going to ignore the fact that he existed at all, but first item Locket from Trance, or sorry, Banner of Command, but first item Aegis from him. Obvious got a bunch of magic early as well, Spectre's Cowl, Banshee's Veil before Dead Man's Plate. Like, there was some very significant magic resist stacking on this enemy squad, and you mentioned it. There's these fights where they get in, it's a strong engage from Seraph, and then, oh, they nearly killed more than one person. Because they didn't have the damage to kill more than one person. They all bought MR. Yeah, I love the MR stacking here. The Maw, the Abyssal Scepter eventually came through as well for being in the top lane. We were right after all. So eventually, you know, we got there. We got there. He was listening to you. But I definitely think that that's the way to go. When you have Seraph playing Lissandra, And you could have very well been like, okay, we don't want to play against that. We're blue side. Let's just ban it away because we are very intimidated by it. Because this was a champion he was playing back even on his CLG days.
Yeah.
Where we were seeing clips of him in solo queue where it's like, Seraph's a god. He's playing Yasuo, Lissandra top. And people were like, well, those champions don't really work right now. Now that they work, they were still okay with playing against it because they were just going to prioritize MR. And I loved the banner. I loved that banner pick up so much. Trance.
Yeah, NME I think won because of two major factors. It was they picked a cohesive Siege team that had the ability to pick people out. And I think especially if you're not playing at the like literal highest tier of play, people will misstep and get caught out. Even you know, top level NA challenger, like people will misstep and get caught out, and having the option of catching those guys with a Bard ulti, with a Malphite ulti, with a Poppy charge, just some elements saying, oh, you screwed up, we're punishing that, I think is a big deal. So that was a plus, otherwise it was a good Siege comp. And they identified, we lose by getting engaged upon and getting bursted, and they all bought MR, except for Wolfie, I'm going to flame him later, for...
Well, you know, he had cleanse, so he's...
Okay, I guess you're right. He had cleanse, and he could flash out. But, you know, they bought to make sure they weren't going to get bursted in those fights.
Yeah, I got to talk to Wolfie a couple times, and I saw him like, oh, you take double-edged sword on Xerath. And I'm like, okay, he takes more damage, maybe. He's like, if I'm getting hit as Xerath, I'm probably playing wrong, and I'm dead anyway.
So he got cleanse because, yes, you can flash Lissandra ult someone, and he's happy to trade flashes. Then otherwise, like, yeah, I'm playing in the back line. You know, it's weird. His builds are like 4 slows. It's like Frost Queen's Claim into Ryleys into Void Staff. He's like, no, I'm gonna make sure that when my first R hits, my next one's gonna hit. And that play style did work out. The early snowball I think was a big deal. When you have comps like this where like you need a Mart to not die, the fact that NME were sitting on a 2,000 to 4,000 gold lead early on allowed some of those items to get in that wouldn't have happened otherwise without the fights going that way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these fights that early on when they didn't have the MR were made winnable by NME by Obvious's ultimates. I thought that the Poppy came up really big, definitely paid off as the first pick, able to flex it, but then also able to give it to a guy who seemed very proficient on it in the jungle.
Yeah, honestly, I am very impressed with Obvious's play. He's a player I've had very little experience seeing. Pretty much everyone else here on NME, I've actually cast him in the North American Challenger Series before. So Obvious is this is the first time I've cast him playing. And yeah, he was definitely a very, very strong force here, aside from getting his Gromp stolen by Ezreal. That set him back a little bit, but he didn't tilt, and all went well. He landed some great stuns, some, honestly, again, team fight saving full channel ults.
Yeah.
Very big deal.
Yeah, and I love how he didn't get tilted by the Gromp steal. It just made him angrier, and then he was more powerful, and then he just came into these fights with a vengeance, just knocking people back and just throwing them out of the fight, so he was just going to win it for his team. And I think that Obvious is a guy we have to have our eyes on as one of the best junglers here. We have to, like, I like seeing, as Challenger goes on, who I think some of the best players per role are.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think
it's always fun to watch.
He's already making a statement that he knows how to play this champion. I want to see what else he has up his sleeve, too. Because if he's able to play Kindred when they're re-enabled on 6-2 or 6-3 when they come back, but I want to see if he can like play the jungle Graves. What can he do? Can he actually carry this team in that sense, or is he a tank player? So figuring out his style just a little bit more as things go on is going to be really cool for me.
And as we wait to get our next game set up here, talking about some of the other players who we've talked about NME a fair bit. Okay, yeah, you know, we saw Wolfie get most damage in the game. He's playing Xerath, no crap. OQ actually did quite well. And it's not a surprise. I think, you know, OQ coming over to North American Challenger, you expect him to dominate his games. He won lane by a bit of CS. He was the second highest damage in the game. Okay, it's a poke champion, you kind of expect that, but had honestly quite high damage, almost matched Xerath in damage, and only ever died the one time off the misplay that I flamed him for. But otherwise, I mean, solid play by OQ. He's clearly about as good as we expected, so that's, you know, good to see that he's kind of picked up where he left off, and TDK can rely on him, I think, in the next game.
Yeah, TDK, though, the rest of them need to kind of step up in this next game and try to make it a 1-1 and split the series with them.
Yep.
Because position definitely matters, right? Only top 2 out of the 6 teams are going to be able to even compete against LCS teams for a slot. So every win matters because you only play 10 games.
Yeah, so we're going to see if the rest of the team can catch up here. We're going to take a quick break, guys. When we return, it's going to be time for Game 2 of TDK versus NME. So don't go anywhere. What we missed.
You missed.
What, you're supposed to come out and meet me. You don't just like, whatever. Hearing the logic. Ooh,
Oh my God.
OQ because of the deep wards by Kez. He warded for Ezra to get some farm. A flash stun, obvious one sip, but the team is not even there, so missed coordination already. But look at that,
no.
oh! And here comes Seraph, he gets the stun onto Otter, who does not have a way out, and the pulverize and the shockwave and everything coming across, but they've already picked off Seraph, a 1-for-0. Oh my God, Trance is like so close to that, has to get ulted out. Ignite is still on there, he's gotta be careful. They already one-shot do it though. Great setup by ICanEU. Obvious has died, it's a 1-for-0, but then traded back. Seraph's gonna be next, a 2-for-1 now in favor of NME.
Give me a fat